the argument put forward by the president's attorneys, arguments that you've made as well, that impeachment requires a crime. I want to play something you said back in 1998 for our viewers.
It certainly doesn't have to be a crime. If you have somebody who completely corrupts the office of president and who abuses trust and who poses great danger to our liberty, you don't need a technical crime.
So you also recently said, without a crime, there can be no impeachment. Back then, you said that it certainly doesn't have to be a crime if you have somebody who completely corrupts the office of president, who abuses trust, and who poses great danger to our liberty. You don't need a technical crime.
Well, that's true. You don't need a technical crime. That's my position today. I've said right from the beginning, you need criminal-like behavior akin to bribery and treason. Remember that in the Clinton
that's not
case,
what you said then.
There was. That's what I said then. It's what I said now. You don't need a technical crime.
You didn't say criminal-like behavior. You said somebody corrupts the office of president and abuses trust and poses great danger to.
Because the issue, that issue was not before anybody. In the Clinton case, he was charged with a crime. Now the issue is whether or not you need criminal-type behavior. I've done a lot more research. Back then, I took the word of many academics who said that.
So you're
I've now
wrong,
done the research. No, I wasn't wrong. What I have a more sophisticated basis for my argument now, having read Justice Curtis's opinion and other opinions. It's very clear now that what you need is criminal-like behavior akin to bribery and treason. What is very clear is obstruction of justice, obstruction of Congress, or abuse of power aren't even close to what the framers had in mind. And I will show that during my speech by going through all of the debates in Congress, Blackstone's commentaries. Yeah.
Okay. Jeff, go ahead.
What is clear is that Alan was right in 1998 and he's wrong now. I mean, the two statements cannot be reconciled. I mean, one is right or one is wrong, and the one in 1998 was right. I mean, the idea. I mean, look, every single law professor that has looked at this issue, except you, seems to think that there is
do you know about Professor Bowie? He just lied. Professor Bowie, who is a professor at Harvard, takes my view. Read his article, Jeffrey. Don't make up stories about every professor. Read Professor Bowie's article in the Harvard Law Review, where he quotes with approval Justice Curtis's argument. He's completely on my side. So please withdraw that argument that no professor has said it.
Well,
so you're saying that Professor Bowie doesn't exist? You did say everyone. You said every law professor.
Okay, virtually
everyone.
No.
Okay, now you're saying you're wrong. Okay, so now you're admitting you're wrong.
All right, I'm admitting that it's not every single law professor.
We all improve and change our views when we focus more on the issue. And I focus more on the issue, and I am now completely convinced that the issue requires.
Justice Curtis was not in a Supreme Court argument. He was making an argument to the Senate. And the point that you see, I don't know what criminal-like behavior is. You keep talking about that.
Well, I'll tell you what it is.
Let me finish. The idea that you can only impeach a president for criminal or criminal-like behavior is absurd on its face. Think about some examples. Suppose a president goes to a religious commune and refuses to speak or talk to anyone. You think that president could be impeached? It's clearly legal, but of course that person would be impeached.
No,
what if
he couldn't be? Let me explain why. Let me explain why. So when the framers sat down to discuss whether to have impeachment or not, one of the major issues was a president would become incapacitated. Madison talked about that. Gouverneur Morris talked about that. And that was a good reason for having impeachment. You don't want an incapacitated president. When it came time to articulate the criteria, they didn't include that because it isn't criminal and because it's open-ended and subject to abuse. So for 150 years, we didn't have a procedure for removing an incompetent president. It required the 25th Amendment to do that after Woodrow Wilson became incapacitated. So there's an enormous difference between what we think should be a ground for removal and what the framers put in as a ground for removal. And so you're going to come up with a lot of hypotheticals, but the framers had to decide what's covered.
Professor, let's just not talk about hypothetical. I want to go back. previously you said it doesn't have to be a crime if the person in office completely corrupts the office of president and who abuses trust and poses a great danger to our liberty, that is impeachable. Now you're saying criminal-like. So you're not, so corrupting the office of the president, is that in your criminal light or criminal-like
No,
behavior?
no, it's not.
So
And
it's
that
not.
was rejected. That was rejected by the
so
framers.
You were wrong.
Look,
You're saying you were wrong back then.
I was saying that I'm much more correct right now, having done all
Much
the
more
research,
correct?
because
What does
that's
that
the
mean?
issue.
No.
Let me explain. Please don't shut me off. You have two against one here. Let me make my point.
No, I'm not on anyone's side. I'm trying to understand rationally what you're saying.
I did not. Well, listen. Maybe you'll understand if you listen. I didn't do research back then. I relied on what professors said because, please let me finish, because that issue was not presented in the Clinton impeachment. Everybody knew that he was charged with a crime. The issue is whether it was a hard crime. Now the issue is whether a crime or criminal-like behavior is required. I've done all the research.
Okay, so you didn't
22
do the research
years
back then.
ago.
Got it.
I didn't do the research back then because that wasn't an issue.
you were
I've
wrong.
done the research now. I wasn't wrong. I am just far more correct now than I was then. I said you didn't need a technical crime back then. I still don't think you need a technical crime. And I think your viewers are entitled to hear my argument without two bullies jumping on everything I say and trying to pinpoint and nitpick on what I said. Let's talk about what the issues are instead of trying to attack the messenger.
I don't think anybody's attacking the messenger. I think rationally, I'm not a lawyer, nor have I studied law, and I didn't go to Harvard, but what you're saying, the words you are speaking do not jibe with what you said in the past, and yet you're not saying what you said in the past is wrong. So
I didn't say
we're out of time.
I didn't say it was wrong. I'm saying what I'm saying now is right, and they're very similar when I talk about technical crimes. And you'll hear my argument laid out in far more detail, uninterrupted, when I speak on the Senate floor.